Greetings, traveler. I am Sir Knox, the teller of tales. Would you like to hear one? This one is called How My Ex-Boyfriend Outed Himself as an Abuser Through D&D. Well, that sounds interesting. Before we get started, please consider subscribing to the channel as it helps immensely. Let's hop right in. Content warning, slightly NSFW, vague mentions of sexual assault/abuse, and a foolish 18-year-old girl making foolish 18-year-old girl mistakes. So, as a quick preface, I was raised by a very strange, crazy lady. I was told fantasy, sci-fi, comic books, basically anything not Barbie or Easy Bake was not for girls, among a lot of worse stuff that may have something to do with why I was 18, dating a 26-year-old. So the second she was out of my life, I dove headfirst into all of it, and maybe got a little obsessive. At some point, my boyfriend at the time ended up telling me that a friend of his wanted to DM a short beginner campaign for new players. Obviously, I was all in, but had no idea how to proceed. The players were me, 17/18, ex-boyfriend, 26-ish, and DM in his 30s, plus one other player who I do not remember much of, but I do remember he played a homebrewish monk. I'm curious because you said 17/18 with a 26-year-old boyfriend. Were you 8? Because before you said 18 with the 26, which is legal, but the 17 going to 18 with 26 is not. I know some people might find that trivial, but it is an important matter, so I'm wondering why you're changing it up here, because that is probably already some dangerous territory to begin with. Let's continue. The DM worked very closely with me on my character, an elf cleric of a homebrew religion. Her name was Asha, and she was a very shy, quiet, nun-like character with immense amounts of devotion to her homebrew goddess. He had helped me make a low-maintenance RP character who also had very strong ties to the lore, the world, and the planned plot. It was great for my personality and honestly a very nice way to slowly wade into the waters of D&D, especially roleplay. The DM also told me in private that I was going to be something of a MacGuffin, as Asha's goddess would commune with her through dreams and visions, but I would have the final say on what to share with my party both in-game and out of character. The basic plot was that a sect of Asha's religion was becoming a cult and warping the religion, so Asha's goddess sent her on a mission to squash the heretics. XBF rolled a tiefling warlock, who he named after his own gamertag. Let's call it 7. So Asha and Monk meet up and have the same goal. Turns out the cult was taken over the monk's temple and killed his best friend. Asha doesn't trust strangers who are not of her religion, but her goddess tells her to work with the monk. Okay, cool. Then we meet 7. Asha insta-hates him. He's a warlock and she's a religious fanatic. Monk convinces Asha to let Warlock join us, as he has some secret mission from his patron that at least somewhat aligns with Asha and Monk's. She doesn't like it, but she trusts Monk because her goddess said she should. 7 instantly starts to hit on Asha. She's rejecting awkwardly, both in-game and out of character, but it's not too bad. It kind of makes sense that an evil warlock would get a kick out of making this goody two-shoes feel uncomfortable. We have a few fun fights, meet a PC who Asha really likes and gets a great vibe off of, but can't convince to join us because I fail the charisma checks. She's mad shy and timid. And as she's expressing this affection to the NPC, 7 gets mad and tries to steal from him in his own home. Asha gets mad and calls him out. I never said she was subtle. And instead of dropping the random thing he stole, 7 decides to attack the NPC. Gods get called, DM goes easy on us, and instead of TPKing us, has us kicked out of the city. This is when 7 kicks it up. He begins making much harder, stronger moves on Asha, and out of character, I'm beginning to feel really uncomfortable. I'm new to RP, and also at the time I was very uncomfortable with PDA, so this was not great for me. We make camp after a rough goblin encounter, and 7 immediately says that he wants to sneak into my tent. DM pauses and asks why. Ex-boyfriend. I'm gonna bang her. DM. Asha? I quietly and uncomfortably respond, Asha wouldn't do that. DM. That's a no, 7, so Monk ex-boyfriend. I sneak in then. DM takes a long pause. To talk to her? Nope, to sleep with her. DM takes a longer pause. Actually, Asha has taken a vow of celibacy. Sorry, I almost forgot. This wasn't on my backstory, but also wasn't far out of the realm of possibility. I did note on backstory that she was somewhat prudish, so a vow of celibacy doesn't seem much of a stretch. Ex-boyfriend. So what? My character doesn't care about that. DM. So you're going to force yourself on her? If I have to? He is literally grinning as he says this. Monk looks disgusted and shocked. DM just looks confused. I'm starting to feel myself shake and go into a panic attack. I can't say anything, I'm just focused on trying to breathe. DM. I'm not allowing that. 7 doesn't do that. Just no. He pauses for a long time, takes off his glasses and rubs his face. He then sighs and says, "You know what, guys? I've got a headache. Let's end this session early." As we pack up, GM says he has a new dream for Asha, and it's the norm for us to discuss those in private away from Monk and ex-boyfriend. So we move to a different room. DM gives me his wife's cell number and says to please call her if I ever feel unsafe. He tells me I have lots of friends who care about me and that I don't have to put up with anyone mistreating me. When we get in the car, ex-boyfriend starts ranting about Monk, saying that when they were alone, Monk had made a comment about how gross he had been, and that ex-boyfriend had said his character was just as entitled to Asha's body as he was to mine. DM never invited us to another session, though him and his wife did call me a few times to check on me, something that sent ex-BF into rages. Looking back on it, I can see that this game was the first time anyone had put to words what was happening in real time to me. And hearing it from an older man really began to fit pieces together in my head of how unhealthy that relationship was. And yes, the things he tried to do to my character were similar to the things he did to me. It took a D&D campaign to make me and his friends realize how nasty he actually was. This was 6 or 7 years ago, but I've been thinking about this lately because a friend of mine has encouraged me to try out D&D again. This time with him as DM and a male character inspired by a cross of Dick Grayson and a character from the Feist novels. Hopefully, second time's a charm. P.S. Sorry if most of the horror from this story happens out of character, but I only realized recently that this was when that horrible relationship started to crumble. And I'm only recently rediscovering my interest in TTRPGs, so the events have linked in my head, and I thought it would be cathartic to share. To anyone who cares, I'm a long time out of that relationship, and in a healthy one with a man my own age, one with a lot more listening, respect, and care. Thanks for reading. Edit. Wow, I am blown away by the amount of support and care in the comments. Thank you all so much. I don't really make a lot of posts on Reddit, usually I just scroll, and I never expected to wake up to this. Thank you so much for showing me how truly awesome and beautiful this community actually is. I've been hesitant to start again, but some very patient friends have been helping me get there, and I felt like I was ready. This was honestly a post meant to be me shouting my story to the void, so I'm shocked and touched that the void decided to shout back words of kindness. You all are amazing. Thank you so much. Yes, I'm sorry that you experienced that. That is completely unacceptable. Obviously, that guy's a freak. One thing I noticed is that even though you're playing a fantasy game, it tells a lot about the person for what they're willing to do in-game. Now, obviously, if you get to a point where they're an evil character and they're willing to, be a little more violent or kill NPCs or betray you and lie, yes, it can feel bad, but try to detach yourself from that. But there's certain things, especially when it comes to assault and kids and things like that, where they shouldn't even exist in a fantasy world. And the fact that somebody would try to play them out in a fantasy game is a huge red flag for who they are in person. At least that's my take. I'm sorry that you experienced this. I'm sorry that you might have experienced other things that you had mentioned outside of game, which is also terrible. But I'm glad that you were able to work through it. You got out of that relationship and you're with somebody that seems to be much better. So hopefully that continues down a positive road and you can have a positive experience in a TTRPG moving forward. I wish you the best. That ends our tales for today. If you would like to hear more, come back and I shall tell you some.